and start immediately. Okay. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on your time zone. Today we'll continue with data cleansing and we will try to control the data format. So when we have, let's say, CSV data file, data set, we will try to check each column in this CSV, which kind of data type it's there. So if it's date, we try automatically to determine its date or its string or something similar. I will share my screen. It's only one procedure today. That means it's not big session, but this procedure has multiple other sub-functions inside it. Okay. And here we go. So remember our previous session, we were talking about the health insurance data set, and most of the function we run it for the activity data set, which is, if you want to take a look on it, we can go here, just a minute. Here's the activity data set. In activity data set, we have multiple columns explaining which claim it's belong, what is the quantity, what is the item code, etc., including the denial code, and the payment amount and the net amount. And then we will understand later why all of these zeros it's here. Okay, this is the activity data set. Today we want to determine what is the data type for each column, and we'll try to do it automatically. So we'll start by, this is the main body of this. In this function, I'm just preparing that dictionary, which will become the result. Then I'm creating these indicators or parameters, which is integer values count, date values count, string values count, float values count, and not number values count. Now I'm run for all the columns on the dataset, and what I'm trying for each value, for each cell on that CSV file, I'm comparing it. I will check if it's possible to be integer value. So if it's possible to be integer value, I will increase the integer value by 1. If not, I will check if it's possible to have it as a float. The same, if it's not, I will check if it's possible to be as a date and as a string. And then if all of this is not valid values, currently we are dealing with this only, I'm saying it's not a number or not a value. So I'm increasing the NaN value. After all, I'm just creating my result dictionary for each column. That means if I have 7 columns or 6 columns in this dictionary, I will have 6 keys, and each key have an array describing the situation of this key. Yes, Tom?
I just messed up my screen somehow. Oh my gosh, this is weird. Sorry. It seems like you have some redundant variables above the for loop.
Yes, I can remove these, by the way. No
okay, good.
So, by the way, I want to remind you that I'm coming from other programming language into Python. In other programming language, sometimes you have to even determine what is the data type for this values, for these variables, and before starting it, especially in Pascal, for example.
Okay, good to know.
So now, if we go to check, for example, check integer value, it's returning Boolean value. Let's go to the definition and see what it's doing. It will check the value. If it's possible to be converted to integer, then it will return true. Else, it will return false. And for sure, else, will never be visited. In fact, if it's not possible to be integer, it will be catched as in the try. So, in the exception, I'm returning. This is how I solve this issue. So, end value, we know that end value, it's not a Boolean. But we have to understand that anything, if it exists, then it's a Boolean. So that means 5 itself, it's considered true. Okay. So according to that, if this end value, this conversion, it's happened, that means the if statement, it will be achieved, and we can go to the return true. Otherwise, it will be exception, and we are catching the exception to return false because we know that it's not integer. Now, there is something missing here. I'm not going to speak about it. I'm just going to check about other values. Check float value. It's the same strategy. Check string. Now, for datetime, I'm using this function from datetime library, and I'm passing the, this is exceptional, I'm passing the format of the date because I know the format of the date in case of the claims in my data set, it's like this. So this is one part of the assignment. Is it possible to make it general, not passing the format for the date or not? This is what we are trying to do. Because we want to pass the date and convert it. That's the string value converted to date. Okay. And but by the way, this is maybe it will return wrong. Maybe this one will change it to time. We'll check it. Okay, the same. And otherwise, if all of these conversions is not happening, then we know that it's not a number, non-value, and then we return this dictionary. Now, what I'm doing to this dictionary here, I'm just print it to check the values that we have for the dataset. And then I make another loop just to generate kind of visualization, images that showing me for each column what is the distribution of the values I have. So how many values for this column accepted as integer, how many values accepted as string. Now, why this is important? Because it will give me clear idea if this column can be converted into specific data type or not. And according to that, I will know exactly how to fix all the error of this, let's say the expected error of this column. For example, if I'm talking about date column, and I have a lot of not a number, and I have a lot of strings in it, if I know that 85% of the values it's accepted as a date, so at the end I will look for maybe default value to fill the NaN values, or maybe I will only remove that columns if the date is very critical. But I know that this column is date. So this percentage, it will help me a lot. And this method can be used always. Now, one of the problem of this method, you can see it right now. I will run it right now to see what will happen. And okay, you can take the time because it will take a long time to be run. Right now, it's not finished. It's still working. Okay. Now it's finished. Now, what's happening here? It's telling me that the new ID, if you remember, the new ID is the identity that I generate. So new ID, it's integer. I know that the first 5,000 value, it's all integer. Now, claim ID, it's all string. It's always string, nothing. So I know exactly that this column is string. Activity ID, it's always integer. And this is, by the way, this is strange. It's integer, but it's not important to have it as integer sometimes. Quantity. Quantity, sometimes it's coming as integer, and sometimes it's coming as float. Okay, which is, okay, we can know. Quantity might be 1, 2, 1.5. We are talking about, for example, boxes of specific drug or medication, we can select that we need 1.5 books. Okay. And all of the columns, I know exactly what is the distribution for it. Now, if I check here, there is something. Here is the images. For example, if I'm talking about the quantity, and there is something, Tom, maybe you can help me with that. Always a string is activated, which is not correct. When I'm plotting this string here, it's 0. For example, for the this is for quantity. String is 0. Why always it's showing it's here? I don't know. We have integer, we have float, but why string is always showing? I don't know. I will back to the code. Maybe you can help me with that.
Yeah, if we could go back to the code, I wanted to verify something with you.
Yes.
So go go, for example, to the one that checks if something is a string.
Okay, this one.
So
The function here.
right
Yes.
there, yeah. So now what this will do, it'll just make sure that that any type of object you pass in can be converted to a string.
Yes.
And so that's what you wanted to do, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But
So
here
what
here
threw
it's yes. Sorry,
what threw
continue.
no, it's okay. What threw me off at first, because of the way you named the function, I thought you just wanted to make sure it was a string. But this is making sure it can convert what you send in to a string. So it's more
Yes,
like check uh, able to convert to string, you know.
something
And
like
by
that.
the way,
Yes.
yeah, exactly. So it does, I actually had to go write this real quick because I was pretty sure that, oh no, this will just make sure you can convert something to a string. And so each of these is that way. And if that's what you're intending to do, this is written very cleanly. It's bulletproof.
By the way, here there is something about the order. Why I'm checking the string at the end? Because almost everything can be converted to string. So that's why I'm checking the string at the end, because I want to be sure about the integer, then float, then if it's date. Otherwise, I'll check the string and it's only, maybe sometimes there is no need for that, but because I want to add something, still I didn't add it. And this is part of our assignment. I want to add something here to differentiate the string from non-value. Okay, so this
And
is it's very important.
and
Okay.
just real quick, what Geith just said is so important because a lot of times to keep things really clean and transferable, this is why we use JSON format, JavaScript object notation, JSON. JSON can convert almost any Python data object, and I mean a mixture of data objects, into a string, which makes it super easy to pass it around. And you can even convert that string to binary and save it in SQL very conveniently. So the point that Geith is making right now is extremely powerful about strings in Python. You can even store a function in string format and pass it through, or certain objects, like you could convert a tuple to a string and then later run it back through the Python eval function, it'll turn it back to a tuple. And there are times where that is extremely useful and powerful.
Okay. Now here is the code that generating the images. Here, I'm just creating a data frame, passing the value from the dictionary, that is a dictionary, which is we already check it here. This is the values that I'm passing. Each column. Okay. Now let's check this one. For example, in not denial code. Denial code, it has some string value. Let's say the quantity. The quantity, it's either integer or float. Okay. Here, when I'm plotting this, I'm generating the float, and then I'm only saving as an image. This is what I get for the quantity. It's showing the string everywhere. And this is, I don't know why. Now, most probably maybe by the plot generating method, it's generating this, but really I don't know why. Potentially have the type as category. For example, denial code. Yes. Now I didn't discuss this because denial code, it has another problem. Now let's go to see the plot for denial code, and let's check it quickly. Now this is the denial code. Again, there is a lot of strong problem here. Why it's showing integer and string? In fact, denial code has to be string or not a value only. Now the problem is here in our data set. the denial code, for example, for this claim, we have to discuss about denial code more. This denial code means it's no problem with the claim, but only the problem is the pricing. For example, here you are asking for 5,281, but the price it's cost like this. So it's considered as rejected or denied for only 13 fields. Okay, so that's fine. In this case, it's considered approved attack. So this one, it's only denial code for the price. Now this claim, it's not only this activity. We have multiple activities for this claim. These 3 activities is for the same claim. So here we don't have denial code, but at the end, it's considered denied for the same reason. Or if we are looking for the medical approval, we can consider it approved even because it's not rejected for medical reason. So in this case, it's categorized, yes. But how to know it's categorized? Not only this one, we can see about the item code. The item code, I think it's most dangerous because in the item code, we have integer values, okay, but this is categorized. And sometimes it's not integers, it cannot be integers because it has specific schema for specific format. So what we are doing here, we are just checking the general possibility as a high level. Now, once we have, for example, we find that we have column just like item code, it has this discrepancy that sometimes it's string, sometimes it's integer. We know there is something here. So for sure, we have to get the information from, again, if we are talking about real scenario, from the business analyst, tell us that this is, no, this is category, it's categorized, it's following specific standard. You cannot consider it as integer at all. So in this case, we will go and consider this value as strings, because here, even if there is 0 in the beginning, for string, it's have a meaning. For integer, it doesn't have a meaning. So what this is will help us to clean the data, but it will not clean the data. But it will tell us that go and ask this specific question according to the plots you have and to the information that you have. So the session today, it's only about this function. What I'm looking for as assignment, we can, by the way, maybe we can work on it together right now, but it's only how to deal with not a value, because here you cannot find any non-value. Check these values. Always the last is 0. And in my original data set, I have a lot of non-value. Why it's always 0? And how to solve this issue? What kind of conditions or processing we can do to make our function as generalized function? It can be used for any data CSV data set. Now, just to make the same test again, we can go and do the same function, run the same function for totally different data set, and see what will happen. Is it going to work or not? Which is the claim data set, the original one. This is the main reason for working here, is we are trying to create generalized functions for the data. That means we can use it for any data set. This is the main target for us. Okay. It's fork also. Here we have claim ID, claim ref date, and claim type. And it's also, but all it's seen as string. So this is how we can work it. Now, what is our assignment? It's like this. How to process non-value and how to make it faster. Because here I was forced to work only on 5,000 rows, and we need to use the same function for bigger data sets. So this is our task. I think we already published this to the GitHub, but I will check again, I'm not sure. So I'm done today. Any question, please?
So basically, this is some basic automations for cleaning dirty data. You
Yes,
like, for example, you know a certain column or feature set needs to be of a certain data type, but some of the data collected was not of the appropriate data type. So this could identify if they're all true, then going ahead and convert them. But if they're not
exactly,
all true, we've got to dig deeper and do some manual work.
exactly, exactly. This is the target for this.
I thought
This
I'd
is
show, oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, this is the only reason for this function. It's only to give more clue, more evidence about the data type, and if it's possible to, okay, to convert it into the suitable data type, it should be better. For example, sometimes it's better to deal with end for even how to process it, because if the end, it's the memory allocated for the end value, it's less than the string, for example. So it's better to deal with the end in all the pipeline steps, not only when modeling and passing the parameters, in all the modeling steps. So any data conversion can be done. This function, it will help you to understand exactly your data status and to move according to that. This is
Excellent.
it's, let's say, another preparing step, just to go and clean the data.
Yeah. If you, Guys, if you'd like, I could show a couple of automated data cleaning routines too, and some other Python code. But is that all you had for today?
Yes, for today, this is
Okay.
the only thing. Because um, I will make this right now just only 2 minutes. Next week, we will try to, this function that we have here, we prepared for the last 2 sessions, we will try to automatically call it in specific order according to the user design, just as drag and drop. And according to that, we will generate our pipeline. So this is the step to the next session. It will be, by the way, it will not be data science, it will be software engineering, but it will show you how you are able to automate really your functions when you have a predefined cleansing procedures and you want to call it on. So this will be next Saturday. Yes, Tom, if you want to share anything, yes.
Yeah, good. And I want to explain, I had the task from hell last week that ate up a lot of my time. That's why I haven't taken the time to convert the class over to the new repo. But it's, I should say I put it there, but I think I haven't made it so that everybody can get to it. So my apologies. Actually, I think you can get to it. So I'll put the link in the chat. The problem is Guy can't yet add stuff to it, which is even worse. So I'll do that right after our stuff this morning. Let me share real quick. I thought you guys might find this valuable. Let's see, boy, what? It is, I guess it's sharing, that's sharing my screen, right? Are y'all seeing the Zoom thing here? That's not what I meant to show. So I'm trying to go to another place here and I am struggling. Let me stop sharing and fix this real quick. It just shared something I didn't really want to share. There we go. Okay, I'll make this full screen. So this is what Guy was showing. And let me move my thing here. There we go. So this is this was the function format Guy was showing. He was checking that things were convertible. And just to make sure you guys know a good way to check the type, you just want to check the type, you can do it this way. And by the way, there's even a simpler way to do it than what I've just shown. You see, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. If this is readable to you, yeah.
Here I have only one concern. If I'm using type, sometimes it will be object, even if it's string. This is the only concern.
Yeah, what I've found is this is pretty reliable, but we can test it more thoroughly. But if you wanted only to check for string here, there's a, I'll keep this and just show you. I want to make y'all aware of this because what I'm about to show you can really clean up your code. First thing I can do is this. This is, you see, I just went from 4 lines with some white space to 1 line. And you might even ask, why did you even write a function for that? You could just put that inline in your code. And I would say, yeah, in fact, let's say you're in your code and you want to store this somehow or use it some other way. There's yet another way to do this. You can store Boolean operations like this. I'll just call it answer to be really general. Now, why would you want to do this? Let's say I call this string check. Now, later on, that takes less space. In fact, I could just as, this is just a saved line space, and it's still readable for us. It's not too cryptic. Then later, I'm doing some, I've got a lot more code. I better comment. Oh, stop it. And I come down here, and now I say, okay, if string check and some other check. Now, I'm not going to run this, of course, but it could be a whole lot of other checks. Then you can store these Booleans and make them very clear, and then you can make a very long multi-logic check, and then just take action. And this is the beauty of Python and being able to just store some logic check for later. Well, I could even, in light of this, what could we also do? We could do something like this. I had this up here, and I say, let's do this one again. I'll call this multi-check. And we'll just send in some object. And then I say, okay, if this return string. And if, now let's see, I probably do want to do an LF here. Now this is basically anything I can typecast as. And Guy's warning earlier about thinking ahead of time, well, you know, I'd have to go check this, but what if I send in an integer and it says, well, yeah, it's a float. It probably isn't, but I'm just saying you might want to put these in an order that is optimal. In other words, we'd have to test this code. I'm just showing, I probably have this function somewhere. Something I had to do like this in some code a while back, just for this same kind of thing, dirty data. Object is integer, etc., and return integer. So we could test just this little bit real quick. And to avoid problems, I'll just comment all of that above and comment all of these out here. And then, so let's just do a few of these real quick. Now, hopefully your imagination's filling in the blanks going, oh, I can see how I could leverage this for many other types of things. So we'll do this first and print multi-check. And by the way, Python has some built-in functions to help you with this. So they may be more robust than this, but you could be even more general, like just, well, is it a number? And you could even send in strings and eval them first, and then say, well, is that after you do the eval? And I'll show you what I mean by that. Find out if it's a number by converting even like, so well, I don't care if it's in string format. I just want to know if it's a number in string format. And there's multiple ways to handle something like that in Python. So now we go, oh, this will be fun. I pride myself on not knowing too many values of pi. No, that's good enough. I'm an engineer. I don't need to know it any further than that. Okay, and let's just run this and see if it works. So, yeah, it works. And so you could test this for robustness, but what you could also do is take Geith's excellent function above just to check for convertibility. So here's his function, and then say, oh, if I'm going to return true, go ahead and convert it. Now, I'm not saying that would be the cleanest way to do it. I'm just saying, since you know that it can be converted, go ahead and return the conversion. You could even, in this try loop, let's think. Well, I could convert it here. I could say return the string, just going ahead and return this. But it seems like I might want to do it ahead of time. And since I'm in the try loop, that would work. So that's probably you would just say return string my thing, otherwise return false. But that would probably have problems. I like the way Geith is doing it a lot. So I hope that helps. Just sometimes something as elegant as this can really go the extra miles for you. And of course, we could put Geith's, we could modify Geith's date. Check object is convertible to date. And if it is, you go ahead and convert it to date and do that. So you could combine all of these to do some multi-function thing. Yes, Guy.
Yes. First, I want, since we are trying, I really want to try this one. The multi-check with a pi value, if we just pass it as a string, that means with single quotation or double quotation. Tom, you are muted. You are muted. I cannot hear you.
My bad. Do you want me to try this then? Is that what you were
Yes.
getting at? Okay,
Yes.
Very good. Let's do that.
This is the first comment because I want, this is my what I mean. If I'm checking the type, it's back as string, and this is correct. But I want to check the possibility of have it as float or integer. This is what I'm looking for. The second, yes, if I know exactly what to do right now, from today, I want to finish all the function. Yes, when I see it's convertible, go ahead and convert it. But today I'm trying to plot the situation of the column. And according to that, I will go and ask, let's say, for today, I will ask the business analyst to tell him why here I have these possibilities. The second step is for me, I was going to show it today, but really I didn't find the time to continue with it. I was going to store where is the difference. That means if 70% of the values in the column is strings and 30% is integers. Okay. Now this integers value, where it is, in which location, and what is to store it in the dictionary itself. So this is the step which will help a lot in conversion. Now, I think right now, for sure, I'm sure there's another way to use the type, but this is why I run away from the type here, because I want to check if it's really converted, not what is the current data type for it. That's the only comment from my side.
And Guy's point is an excellent one. I actually agree with what he's saying. It's great just to check what's convertible first, because if you know that the whole column is convertible, then you're golden. You can automate and go ahead and make sure everything's converted to the same type. This is just showing these different things, is just showing you different possibilities of how to go about it. For example, if we mixed Guy's method up here with steps from here, wait, no, it's similar. At least this way, this is returning a Boolean, which can then say, let's, for example, you do this, and this is super robust the way he's done this, because this literally could throw a problem. And you know, if it throws a problem, it encountered something horrible. But what we could do is just set the Boolean in here. For example, my bool equals true. Now this is similar to what I was showing y'all above. What I'm doing is just preparing ahead of time for something I want to do later. So I'm just storing the Boolean, but I'm not going to return yet. Now I'm saying, if my bool, and there's reasons you wouldn't want to do it exactly like this, giving Guy's data set. Do the conversion. Go ahead and do the conversion. But it could be that you send in my things. And now in this case, this would work for Guy's scheme. We say for my thing, so in my things, do each of these. And then this is a way to do it in one step. So for example, for each of the thing in my things, you could say if here you would just say a continue. I want to continue checking. If they all convert, great. Otherwise, what are we going to do? We're in a for loop. So if I put a break here, it will break out. And but before I do that, I should not have deleted that. We say my bool equals false, but we also can do it here. And that way it's saying, okay, darn, I can't do it. But if my bool never got false, and before we came in here, we said my bool equals true, then what's nice is if it got through all of these without finding one that wasn't convertible, then we can go in here, we can go back through this loop and convert all of each thing in my things to a string at that point. So meaning if my bool remained true, now I can go through and go ahead and convert all of those. I hope this is helping. There's just little Python tricks, but the way Guy showed it is super clean. You check, if all of them check out that they can be converted to the thing you want them converted to, then you still have to go convert them. And by the way, that would be pretty direct. Within here, you would say, for my thing in my things, you wouldn't, I don't think you'd want to do it this way at this point. You'd do something like this, range, link, and then you would say, now that you know they can all be converted, you would say, my things, I, equal string. My things, oh, I, and that I could have done that as a list comprehension, by the way. And then, but else, return, you have more work to do, sucker, or something. Okay, something like that. Probably don't want that, but just that you've got the idea. I hope this is helping, guys. It's just, you have to decide how you're going to structure your overall program. If you wanted to do it in one step, you could get it done here. Otherwise, you do it in two big steps, which is fine too. It may be, you end up refactoring on bigger applications a few times to get everything in a optimal, maintainable structure.
I think Timothy has a question.
Go, Tim.
Hey, Tom. So
Hey,
my
Tim.
question was about, because my understanding of this is we want to confirm the type of the column or the data in the column, correct?
Yes.
And so if we're defining functions, why not use type hinting, which was introduced into Python since 3.5? And then
yeah,
alongside that, use like mypive to type check it.
absolutely. Like I said earlier on, the reason I like the way Guy did it here, this is super well, he did it a little different than this because I've added stuff now, but it was super robust. And then when I was doing this down here, Tim, I was already trying to hint at, it's not usually that there's so many different ways I've had to do stuff like this that I wouldn't always do it the way I've shown. This just occurred to me that when we tested it works. So Tim, I agree that there's probably so many good ways to do this, and they all will vary slightly depending on your specific needs and what you're doing. What Guy's doing is he's saying, okay, I know I've got some dirty data and it's just type problems. We're not having NaN problems, we're having type problems. So first I want to just go through and make sure everything's convertible. Once I know it's all convertible, then I can automate the conversion. Otherwise, I give an alert that I can't convert all the values in this column. You're going to have to go do some manual work. And so Tim, your point is perfect. It's to say, Tom and Guy are not showing all the methods that could be used to do what they're explaining. And that is one of the reasons students that take various courses or read different books, now they get into their job and complain, I didn't learn how to handle this. And what Guy and I are saying in our book, we're going to promise you, you won't ever find even 10 courses altogether that will teach you all the ways to deal with dirty data. What we can promise you is if you get really good at Python, and remember there's probably 3 different ways to do everything associated with this data cleansing, you will do much better. But no one can prepare you for the dirty data you're going to encounter in your real roles. And Tim, I bet you would echo that.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Tom.
Did that answer your question, Tim?
Yeah, it was just like, I know like that's like a useful tool that I use to predefine, but especially if like there could be multiple like screens or other items in like a single column, this is a good approach as well.
Okay, Guy has a question. So after his question, because he's in charge of this class today, so it's funny he's asking me a question. Go ahead, Guy. If we have time, I've got a question for Tim.
Okay, I have a comment. It's only like this. When we are, one of the methods to detect that you have some issues in your data set is checking the data type and the conversion of each and every value. Now, we are talking that this information, it will help us to understand our data set in a better way, to know exactly if there is any problem in generating this data set, because at the end, we know that we have this CSV file, it's containing our data set, but we don't know how it's generated. And according to that, we might find a lot of problems in the format. So one of the methods that help us to understand our dataset and understand the issues in our dataset is to check the data types. How to check it? We show some techniques. It's not the only techniques, but what is the message today? It's very important to check the data types because this is help you to understand the issues in your dataset. So our target is understanding our dataset, not checking the data type as a target itself, but it's only a tool. This is my comment about it.
Yeah, I agree. Nisha made a direct comment to me. I'm going to read it. I think, Nisha, you won't mind. And I've used this, Nisha, you're right. Is instance is also something that's used. I'm going to put it in the general comment. And then I wanted to ask a favor. Timothy and Nisha, could you prepare code examples similar to what we've done this morning with is instance and hint, and then show those to the class in the class chat, the pipeline class chat? I would ask you to do it live right now, but we probably should break here soon. And then I got a private message real quick. Let me look at it. Yeah, exactly. Thank you for that, Tim. But would you, Nisha, would you be okay doing that with is instance? Just a very simple code example. Would you be okay doing that, Nisha? Oh, great, good. And then Tim, are you okay doing that with hinting?
Yeah, absolutely, Tom. And like,
excellent.
Yeah, and I would also want to like maybe like highlight like type coercion too.
Yeah, and how you deal with this dirtiness, it gets real subtle sometimes. Like, well, do I want to do it real time and fall back to a default? I mean, you can get very elaborate. So, Nisha, there have been times where is instance was the only thing I could use. And there's some other things that we haven't even mentioned. Like, I don't care if it's a float or an integer. I just need to know whatever this is, it's convertible to a number. And if it's not, what can I use? And so I've used all sorts of mixture of things and chain together. You know how you can chain operations on one line in Python, like is instance of this type, and if it is, then do this, and et cetera, et cetera. So, okay.
So,
any questions, guys? Yeah, go. Guys, take back over.
Okay, just if there's any question, let's take it. If not, let's stop it here because we will join the mentoring. So I think